I'm thinking about Maggie. I'm thinking about Maggie. I'm thinking about Maggie. My nasty ass arm on this shit right after I get it out of the goddamn dryer. I'm so frustrated. Goddamn dryer. I'm so frustrated. Goddamn dryer. I'm so frustrated. Goddamn dryer. Add to your queue. Add to your queue. Add to your queue. I just need to get this fast. Maybe you can put this up here.
Okay, yeah, let me just write one note. 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 Let me just write one note.
through the best of times, through the worst of times, through Nixon and Big Bush. 236, but I stuck away through the best of times. We live in freedom, we live in authority. I live in myself, I'm a Molotov cocktail, cocktail, baby, what's that? Confused look in your eyes, what I'm trying to say is that I'll burn down buildings while you sit on a shelf inside of them. You call the cops on the looters and pythons. They call it classwork, I call the co-conspirators. Cause baby, I'm an anarchist, you're a spineless liberal. We march together for the 8-hour day. Held hands in the streets of Seattle. When it came time to throw bricks to that star, the window you left me all alone. All alone. You watching up at the red, white, and blue on the 4th of July. While those fireworks were exploding, I was burning that sucker and shaking my legs like eating the peanuts that the parties have tossed you in the backseat of your father's new Ford. Yeah, my leg in the back, you ever reform gun, taking the African jackass. And to you, solidarity is a 4-letter word. We're all hypocrites, but you're a patriot. You know I was on you choking when I was screaming, you know where at the top of my lungs. Never come to the guard in the man in the suit. Now I won't take your hand and marry the state. Cause baby, I'm an anarchist and a spineless liberal. We march together for the 8-hour day. Held hands in the streets of Seattle. When it came time to go bricks through that Starbucks window, you left me all alone. All alone. I don't ever wanna talk that way again. I don't wanna know people like that anymore. As if there was an obligation, as if I owed you something. Drag me out. I wanna piss on the walls of your house. I wanna chop those fast rays of your fat fucking fingers. As if you were a kingmaker, plastic, back to you.
Television's flashing it for you, and it's beating on my eyelids like a mob. But I can't turn it off. No, I just turn it up so the darkness and the silence don't work me over from the inside with my thoughts, and I can't turn them on. I'm like a faucet that leaks, leaving rough stains in your sink. I'm like a wine glass sitting on a wedding dress. I am ready and willing to make a mess, and it's hurricane season. As if I ever need a reason. So why do you live with me? How do you live with me? How do you live with that? With that? My alarm clock's working at 5 p.m. and it's towing in my headache like a train. And I can't pull the switch, so I just stay on track and roll into the nighttime with a dream. Some conversation that won't ever go away. No, I can't go away. I'm like a faucet that leaks, leaving rough stains in your sink. I'm like a wine glass sitting on a wedding dress. I am ready and willing to make a mess, and it's hurricane season. As if I ever need a reason. So why do you live with that? How do you live with that? How do you live with that? With that? Television's flashing at 4 a.m. and it's beating on my eyelids like a mob.
Further, proud of and disgusted by her. Put a shovel in a bruised down body. Hold on, I ain't coming home with you. My life's a bit more colder. Than life is what I told her. Brass knife sinks to my shoulder. Oh, babe, don't know what I'm gonna do. I see my redhead mess bed, tear shed, queen bee must squeeze. misspells, knocks me on my knees. It didn't hurt, flirt, blood, squirt, stuff, shirt like me on a tree. After I count down 3 rounds, in hell I'll be in good company. Down low, couldn't go no further. Proud of and disgusted by her. Push on, little bruised and battered. Hold on, I ain't coming home with you. My life's so been more colder. Dead wife is what I told her. Grass knife sinks to my shoulder. Oh, babe, don't know what I'm gonna do. I see my redhead, mess, red, tear shed, cream beam a squeeze. The stage of smells, tells, hells, bells, misspells, knocks me on my knees. It didn't hurt, flirt, blood, squirt, stuff, shirt like me on a tree. After I count down 3 rounds, in hell I'll be in good company. And I'll be in good company. And I'll be in good company. I was gonna say something that would solve all our problems, but then I got drunk and I forgot what I was talking about. I forgot what I was talking about. And don't you know there's nothing more cruel than to be loved by everybody. There's nothing more cruel than to be loved by everybody but you. And to be loved by everybody but you, but you. If I can get my shit together, I'm gonna run away and never see any of you again. Never see any of you again. I hope the roof flies out. On the wrong side of the paradise. So when I say I'm sorry I'm late, I wasn't showing up at all. I really mean I didn't plan on showing up at all. Don't you know I hate all my friends. I miss the days when I pretended. I hate all my friends. I miss the days when I pretended with you. I miss the days when I pretended with you. If I can get my shit together, I'm gonna run away and never see any of you again. Never see any of you again. I hope the road flies and we keep blowing out in the space. I always leave such plans in the space. You're just a memory that you're the eighth wonder. I'll stop wearing that when we make a talking color. The lady said to the tigers, they stood behind some doors. I'm sick of this job, I don't know what we're waiting here for. I'm turning off life support, I'm putting an end to this joke. The tiger thought about this and then the tiger spoke. Starving the beast at the very least will just increase its hunger. Go right ahead and starve me dead, it will only make me stronger. The lady said, I'm busting out this poison. I got laser vision and I'm burning a hole in the wall. The tiger said, wait, you'll start a fire, destroy the entire lady in the tiger hall. Feline and dame in flames will hardly serve your aims. Do you surmise it's wise to have laser beams emitting from your eyes? Point taken, cat, I can well see that our life, our worth protecting. But I submit it's time we quit this hoping and expecting. Felines and dames in flames will hardly serve my aims. But in my dreams it seems that my eyes are always shooting laser beams. The hall remains, it still contains a pair of doors, a choice. Behind one door, a muffled roar. Behind the other, a voice. If she wants to dance and drink all night, well, there's no one that can stop her. She's going till the house lights come up, her stomach spills onto the floor. This night is gonna end when we're damn well ready for it to be over. Worked all week long, now the music is playing on our time. Now we do
There ain't no reason things are this way. It's how they always been and they intend to stay. I can't explain why we live this way. We do it every day. Preachers on the podium speaking of saints, prophets on the sidewalk begging for change, old ladies laughing from the fire escape, cursing my name. I got a basket full of lemons and they all taste the same. A window in a pigeon with a broken wing. You can spend your whole life working for something just to have it taken away. People walk around pushing back their debts, wearing paychecks like necklaces and bracelets, talking about nothing, not thinking about death. Every little heartbeat, every little breath. People walk a tightrope on a razor's edge, carrying their hurt and hatred and weapons. It could be a bomb or a bullet or a pin or a thought.
All right, all right. How we doing? Am I being heard? That's the first question. Let's see, let's get the chat up. Let's get the YouTube up. All right, wow, we actually got live on YouTube. It's the same stream. So I believe the YouTube folks are going to actually be able to hear the whole show. Blessed be the fruit. May the Lord open under his eye. We're here from sunny San Diego, in the news for two reasons lately. One, we're going to be America's next smart city. Praise be. And also we are ground zero for the UFO everybody's talking about, the Tic Tac UFO that is on CNN and all kinds of stuff now, as if there's only one to talk about. Someone asked what I'm puffing tonight. Well, what I'm drinking tonight is Guthrie Cider Works, a local San Diego cider. I got a couple, taking it kind of easy. And I got a Loud Pack. If you're not familiar with the Loud Pack, something we have here where it's basically just like a cigarette pack. But what I like is the joints all come in their own little case. So if you only need one, if you're only going out for an afternoon, you can just take one of these beauties with you. It is a wonderful thing. Lucky to have it. All right. Let's get this thing going. Crazy that we're live on YouTube the very week 4 different shows are removed. But hey, what are you going to do?
Not liking something here about my sound. Test, test, test. I hope I sound all right to you guys. All right. If someone in the chat could just tell me that everything sounds good, perfect. Love it. All right. Wow. So I'm going to let the people file in a little bit. I'm just so psyched that we got it on YouTube. But like I mentioned, a fourth show was removed. I mentioned the first three, and then a fourth one, which was, I believe, Ollie Demingard about the Vegas shooting. I really just glanced at it. I wasn't surprised. I know that a bunch of them are going to get removed. Someone's asking me about the songs played. Well, because we were on YouTube, I actually just put up a playlist. There was something I wanted to do at one point in time that I wanted to do for Plus members. It was going to be like a THC radio, and I was going to do like a morning DJ, just walk you through the music kind of thing, like all music relevant to the stuff we love. And then I just thought, with the copyright infringement, I don't need to do this. It's just kind of a vanity thing that I wanted to do because I just love music, and especially stuff with lyrics that speaks to these subject matters. I mean, that's why I have the parody songs made at the end of the show. But I just thought, why put a target on me for something like I could get sued for copyright infringement, especially if it's a Plus thing because I'm selling it and it's other people's music. I just don't want to give the system any reasons to get me down. But the music was all kinds of stuff. I think Brett Dennen was the song right before, but there were a couple of songs by Against Me and all that good stuff while people were waiting. A throwback from working retail. Got to get the music going. All right. Cool. So we got people in here. I see the chat. What I don't see are the hands. Motherfucker, this cat almost took down the whole thing. All right. So we got the attendees. And I also played with the settings a little more this time, hoping that we can see the video for some of these people when they call in. So it's not imperative, but it is something that I hoped. And another thing is I get a lot of emails from people who say, hey, I had something prepared. I was all ready to go and you didn't call on me. I'm sorry about that. And I do get frustrated when I know that's out there and then I happen to randomly answer a call like, hey, I didn't think I was going to get through. I don't really have anything to say. It's like, all right, well, nice to meet you too. It's fine. But if you got something to say, that is, we should find some secondary indicator of that. But I do see a couple of hands up. Let's go with Ran. Ran's a new name as far as I know. Ran. Can you hear me? Hey, what's happening?
Hi, it's good. How you going?
I can't complain.
I'm calling from sunny Australia.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, proof positive.
Yes.
So I wanted to say thanks for your show. I really enjoy it. And it's actually made my life better, which I can't say about a lot of things.
Well, that's great to hear. In what regard would you say?
Well, you keep things on the positive side, which I love. You come up with solutions, which I love. And you introduced me to Gordon White, and you brought magic into my life, which I don't think would have happened naturally. And for sure, it wouldn't have happened as fast. And it's been a beautiful thing.
Well, thank you. And I do agree that magic was kind of something that it took me a while to really fully grasp. And I feel like now it's something where I intellectually am completely on board. It's like exercise. I know it would be good for me. I know it'd probably improve my life, but I don't have the energy to do the things that are good for me. And then a magical practice to me is a lot like physical exercise. Like we know it's going to make us better, but not a lot of people take their own advice.
Yeah, for sure. Look, I just try and do really simple things. And I found it's just opened my mind more to what is possible.
Yes, I hear you. Absolutely.
And it's made my life more magical, of course. Okay. We're being joined by my daughter. So she might have something to say. I'm doing great parenting, sticking her in front of a TV, and she's come. So we'll see how we go. But I did actually I've got a few things to talk about, if that's cool.
Sure, please. Let's do it.
Well, I actually wanted to talk about death and the eternal nature of the soul.
Sure, yeah, let's start off on a light note.
Well, the good news is, that's for you. Hold on a sec. You can. Well, the good news is death is not the end.
Right. That's
the take-home message. But before I started that, I just wanted to drop a little health tip for you and the whole community. It's something really, really simple that everyone can do. And it makes a really big difference to detoxing. And that is to understand the body's natural digestive cycles. I haven't noticed anybody talking about this, and it's a super simple little life hack, I guess, if you like. So basically, from like noon till 8 p.m., your body is waiting and ready for food, and that's when you should eat. From 8 till 4 in the morning, that's when it absorbs the food. And from 4 a.m. till noon, that's when you're eliminating waste products. So if you go ahead and have a big breakfast at like 9 o'clock in the morning, you are cutting that elimination cycle in half. So if you can hold on till like 11 o'clock, ideally 12, before you eat, your body is going to clear those toxins out a lot quicker. And that's, that's a big deal these days with everything that's been thrown at us.
Sure.
So,
I mean, basically intermittent fasting.
Essentially, yeah. It's just kind of know the rhythm of your body. And the more you get to know it, the more you'll feel, kind of what you need to do.
Agreed. Yes, I think that's great advice.
My neighbor just tried it. She went from a size 26 to a size 16 without changing anything she eats. And she eats trash. She actually eats trash.
Wow.
And she smokes cigarettes and drinks Coke all the time, but she just feels a million times better. And it doesn't really take, a whole heap of effort to, hold on to 11 to eat.
Interesting. Yeah, it really doesn't. I would agree with you there. I tried intermittent fasting and I was going only eating 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. And that is like really, really easy to do. I mean, especially if you wake up later, it's just, I don't know, I guess a small change can make a huge difference even when the actual food items aren't all that different. I also hear the same about red light therapy, that it just melts your fat. You can sit in front of a red light, kind of as naked as you feel comfortable getting in front of this light, so it hits all your skin. And the study that's coming up in an upcoming episode of THC is, it seems to show that weight loss happens at a factor of 2 over just exercise alone. And that's really, really crazy. And all you got to do is sit in front of a red light. And that's pretty easy to do. So a little intermittent fasting, sitting in front of a red light. It seems like just those two things could be huge components for people.
For sure. And that's one of the things that keeps me positive, is that we have like really simple tools at our disposal. Like I saw a study the other day that women singing scales to themselves, they were able to like reduce breast cancer tumors like by a large amount. So we've got singing, we've got light, we've got laughter, intention, all these things that we already have at our disposal. We just got to put it all together, and that's how we win. I
agree. Water also a huge thing. Water and light.
Oh, that Gerald Pollack episode was just killer. Every time I think you do an episode and I think, yeah, that was my favorite one. It's going to be hard to top. And then you do another one. I'm like, whoa, that's my new favorite. So well done, man. And well done for asking all the really interesting questions, because you can hear the joy in people's voice when they're not asked like, so how did you get into music?
Yes. And to quote someone's book to them, I mean, who's doing that? It's like other hosts really just make my job pretty easy. All components make it work right out there publicly, but I don't know.
Yeah. I can't actually listen to other podcasts now because they spend so much time waffling about how was your day, Bob?
Mm-hmm.
And I just can't listen to it anymore. I need high dose information all the time now. You've ruined me, Greg. You've ruined me.
Well, another one of my favorites is when I hear an interviewer start the show with, I have your book. I glanced through it. I didn't get a chance to read it. Like, why do you have to even say that? Like,
it's so rude.
You could just say nothing. Just say, your book looks really awesome. I really enjoyed what I read of it. I mean, you don't have to give away the whole thing right out of the gate, but people do.
Yeah. So anyway, death.
Death, yes.
Death is definitely not the end. And if I may, I'd like to tell you a couple of stories which will make my case.
Sure.
It also refers to something that Dr. Farrell was talking about in the last episode, which was also smashing. Well done.
Thank you.
He was talking about how people can maybe, have some kind of accident and wake up speaking French. And he put forth the argument that it's like, collective consciousness. We all speak French and play piano in our collective consciousness. I'd like to put forward a slightly different theory that goes to that point.
Okay.
When I was about 17, I was a bit of a skate punk. I liked hanging out with the boys. One day, one of my friends was messing around. He had a really bad accident and got covered in like gravel up his body. So I took him back to my house to try and clear him up. And it turns out I'm not very good with blood. I did not know that. And I flat out passed out trying to pick the gravel out of his wounds.
Yikes.
On the way down, I smashed my head. So I was pretty out cold, It was like, I was very, very unconscious for about 30 seconds.
Wow.
And when I woke up, I had the very clear notion that I had lived an entire life during those 30 seconds.
Wow, intense.
Yeah. So it was like a midlife reincarnation, I guess, was what I thought at the time. But it was so strange. I wasn't like, Queen of Sheba or anything. I was a middle-aged guy. And the main takeaway that really stuck with me was that I missed my kids. And, it was not a natural feeling for like a 17-year-old skate punk.
Right. You missed your kids from that previous life that second.
Life. Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm not going to see them anymore.
That's so crazy. I've heard similar things from people who've done Salvia Divinorum. I did it myself and had a breakthrough experience. So I tried to read up other reports, and people say that they feel like they've lived entire lifetimes during the trip. And then they mourn the loss of their friend, their family, their lover, their pet that they had in that life. And that's so trippy. But I've heard other stories that jive with that. So, I mean, as surprising as it is, it seems to be something that happens to people.
And I didn't tell anybody about this because it just seemed like weird, and I was kind of uncomfortable about it, and I didn't really understand it until I started to do a lot more research later in life. And I've been reading some of the Seth books, and the way that he talks about incarnation and the nature of the soul, it started to make a bit more sense. So the way he has it is that in essence, our incarnations would be like the equivalent of having a finger puppet on and doing this great play, and you're really involved in it, and you're really, you're really invested in this character. And then when you take off that finger puppet, you've still got the knowledge of the finger and everything it's touched, and it's still part of you, and you still important to you, but you realize it's just your finger, Yeah,
I like that analogy.
Yeah. And I think that's the way that, when people have near-death experiences or pass out or whatever, I think they're going back to that that soul, your oversoul, if you like, and you're getting knowledge from your other lives or your other incarnations, if you like. And that's how we learn. We're borrowing from the other fingers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I definitely agree with you that the end is not the end. There's just too many examples. I had a past life regression therapy that I just wanted to test it out, and it was pretty impressive as well. Like the images that were in my mind, that I guess you could say imagination in this state, were very, very, very vivid. And similar thing. I mean, now we're basically talking about three things: a person who got knocked unconscious, a person who went through a hypnotic regression, and a person who did an entheogen, all having a similar experience. And that really fits with my model for the way all this stuff works. It's just there's many different paths to unlocking these clues into what life really is.
Yeah, that's right.
Very cool.
But additionally, I also think that once you've taken off your finger puppet, you've still got your fingers in the physical world if you want. And my evidence that I'm going to put forward to this is that my mum died about 6 years ago, and obviously it was very traumatic and difficult. It's going to sound a bit weird, but laying her body to rest was one of the things kind of helped me deal with her death. So when a job came up at my local cemetery, I thought that I could put that experience to use to help people in the same situation, because I kind of knew what they needed. Obviously, it's not the easiest job to take, and it's got a lot of challenges. So I went up there and I was walking around and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, whether I wanted to take the job or not. And I was looking out over, the cemetery looks out over a lake. And on the other side of the lake is like a little kind of Victorian folly, little white tower. When I went home, I asked my husband to do a tarot reading for me because I couldn't really untangle my feelings. And he selected the card for me, which was the 5 of Cups. And it may not immediately spring to mind what that looks like, but it's essentially a figure looking down at 2 spilled cups, and they're standing in front of a lake with a white tower on the other side. And it was literally, if you'd taken a photo of me, contemplating my life in this cemetery, it would have looked like this card. It was too weird.
Wow. That's another one of those things I hear plenty of examples about. The tarot seems to always resonate with people.
Well, my husband's not a very great tarot reader or anything, and he's never been to the cemetery, so he couldn't have known what the case was. And then, so we did the reading, and it was positive. It was kind of go ahead. And then he asked me to do a reading for him. So I took the deck and I shuffled it, and literally a card leaps out of the deck as I'm shuffling. And it falls on the floor, and I say, "What's this card that wants me to see it?" It's the 5 of Cups again.
Boom.
Of course it is. You know when you can feel somebody that you know. And I knew my mom was there. I knew it was her hand. I just knew it.
Man.
And then the next podcast I listened to was Gordon White. and he was discussing tarot, and the card that they discussed was Five of Cups. It was my triple synchronicity there.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing, but I mean, perspective does seem to be so important. It really is like we're all kind of looking at the same film scene. I try to think about a movie analogy where, you know, take a James Bond movie and he's chasing someone through the streets of London. There's all these people that are in the background sitting there having a meal, and they're in the movie as background characters. But if you looked at their perspective, maybe they're talking about an important business deal and all they see is someone run by in the background. And they're like, I don't know what that's about. And they go back to their thing. And it's like we are all in the same movie focused on different things, and our perspective kind of it like the universe creates a good movie for us with foreshadowing and synchronicities and all that kind of stuff. Like our attention seems to focus on things that make synchronicities and just kind of create a little flow. It is weird. Like just the example you mentioned with listening to that show, it happened to bring up the exact same card. It's like, some people, they just consider that a coincidence, and, you know, you pay attention to life enough and you're going to find some examples of it, but they're not just mundane coincidences. They're obviously tied to really emotionally potent shit, like the death of your mother. I mean, that's kind of why they should be thought of as more important. You know, that's what I would say to someone who is, cynical about synchronicity is like, well, when you feel it, you know, and they don't always translate. It's like telling someone about your dreams. You know, it doesn't always make as much sense or seem as potent or important.
Yeah.
But I like what you said.
And how does that work? Like, I agree with you that life seems to have like a hero's journey built into it.
Mm-hmm.
That component is very interesting, and it's not something I have any theories on yet.
No, it's hard to have any theories on it. I mean, I feel it because I'm in a unique position where, like, I was doing the most mundane jobs and was living a very mundane life, and then turned a passion into a career, talking into a microphone from home with like the people that I think are the coolest people on the planet. I get to pick them. And to me, like, I feel very fulfilled. But if I was listening to myself 8 years ago working at GameStop, I'd be like, fuck this guy. Like, this guy, you know, I was just very bitter towards everybody else who would say, oh, just manifest the life you want. Just go after it. It's like, it didn't feel that easy. And then I'm living it, and it's like, well, it really was just do a podcast, keep doing it, and don't stop doing it. Like, it really was that easy for me. So, I mean, what else can I preach? But the fact that a lot of people are held back by fear or inconvenience or all the traps of the Rockefeller Rothschild debt-based system of rule. And once you get past it, I mean, I really do think we are here to overcome that. You know, like maybe that's a layer, like a villain in everyone's story is just the general empire. And you have to kind of beat that back. And then from there, the story's yours.
That's right. That's right. You got to free your mind, man.
Amen.
So on a final note of freeing your mind, I know that you are always kind of saying that you are looking for, I guess, validation or clues of, you know, the esoteric in your real life outside of entheogens or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you've ever tried the visual ray test.
I have not.
Oh, you're gonna like this one. So essentially the visual ray says that we see by essentially touching with our energy from our eyes. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm telling you because you're the kind of guy who likes crazy things.
Yes. Guilty.
So you know how you're in a bar and you look at somebody and within a second or two they turn around and they look at you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They always know that you're looking at them because you are touching their auric or etheric body, if you like. And a way that you can prove this, and it's worked for me plenty of times, is go out on a a day where there's nice little fluffy little clouds going on in the sky. Lay down on the grass, and then you take your visual ray and you cross-hatch the cloud. Do you get what I mean by that?
You just separate them?
Take a small cloud, and it's like you're trying to slice through it.
Okay.
Slice through it horizontally, slice through it vertically. Keep going, keep going, keep going. You'll be able to break up the cloud just by looking at it.
Interesting. Wow. I will definitely give it a shot. No doubt.
It's gotten a little bit harder now with the whole chemtrailing. I'm sure you know what's going on. And the ionization of the sky. It's made it a little bit harder, but it definitely works. If you want, you could take a friend along, get them to photograph or video, pick a cloud or get them to pick a cloud, and give it a go, because it works. And I think it might be one of those things that will give you that kind of validation that you're looking for in your waking life. Sure.
I mean, that would definitely be impressive. What I really feel like I'm lacking is sober spirit contact, something like that. But I definitely think that what you're talking about is interesting, and multiple people here in the chat say that it is a thing. They've experienced it themselves. It's real. So you're not alone.
Good. Okay, well, let us know how it goes. Give it a try and let us know how it goes.
For sure, I will.
I'm going to let someone else speak now. I've been going on for long enough. Thanks, Greg. All the best.
It was great to talk to you. Take care. Thanks for calling.
Bye.
Bye. That was a good one. Great way to start. Nice, light death talk. And I do think it is light death talk, because honestly, if you're talking about the fact that we go on, I mean, that's a positive thing. All right. So we got other hands. There are quite a few people on YouTube. Of course, this YouTube stream is better than previous ones because you can hear the guests. But if you want to actually participate, if you want to call in, you need to be on the Zoom stream, because that's the only mechanism in which I can actually call. I was willing to go on YouTube. I thought about just, screw Zoom. Let's just do YouTube, because I am able to get it up over there. Nice terminology there. But you can't take calls. So that becomes the issue. But we're here. We got it. So if you want to get onto Zoom, hop over to my Facebook or Twitter, or just thehighersidechats.com. I posted the link, and then you can raise your hand and I can call on you on this side. So there are a decent amount of hands up. If you prepared something to talk about, give me a 2 in the chat. Push the number 2. And let's see if anyone who has their hand up is at the keyboard and can give me a 2 to let me know, hey, I brought something to the table. Because our last caller, she was pretty good. She had several things to talk about, and they're all quite interesting. John's dropping it. All right. Awesome. And we got the video, John.
Hello.
What's happening, John?
How's it going, man?
Better every day. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I had no idea the camera was going to work. I tried to set it up, but I didn't think it was going to work. So hello.
Hello. I think you might be the first with a working webcam. I think maybe partially due to me not knowing the settings for the first few ones, and just a happy accident, a perfect storm. Here we are.
Well, I'm glad everyone can see my pretty face. It's not as pretty as yours, but it's pretty enough.
Stop.
Well, hey, listen, honestly, I want to just chime in here. And first of all, I want to give you props. I've been a subscriber for, I don't know, a year, maybe 2. I generally subscribe to 2 or 3 different sites like this for alternative information. And I'm always wondering, is this guy for real? Is he just trying to make a buck? What's going on? And something that happened with your site recently kind of reinforced why I'm a subscriber here and why I'll stay one. And that is that I had a problem with my account twice in the last, I don't know, maybe 6 months, right? where I got locked out of my account and I wasn't able to view your shows. My password wouldn't work. I couldn't reset it. It was very frustrating. And as soon as I sent you an email, you responded right away. You fixed the problem. You even refunded me once, even though I didn't ask for it or expect it. So I just wanted to say that the customer service here is top notch. And that's great.
Carry over from the old retail days, you know, what can I do? But it is sometimes tough being one guy. I try to get to all those emails. When we have a systemic issue, which from the software switch back in February, it's happened a time or two. Every time we solve an issue and make sure it never happens again, we're closer to smooth sailing. But when something systemic happens, then I'm flooded with like messages. And so then it is hard to, I'm just one guy. So do I sit here and answer every email one by one, or do I focus more on the actual problem and getting it solved and then, you know, plugging that hole and then getting into everybody one by one? And, you know, because it isn't the fastest system ever, I always am trying to be really gracious with like, hey, I know it took me a little while to get to you, but here's some extra time and we got you fixed. So I'm glad that you had positive things to say about that, because I will admit, I'm sure not every single person in the world does, but I think the majority would be with you. I try to get to everybody quickly, get them back in the game.
Yeah, well, I was surprised by your quick response and that you responded personally. You know, that says a lot. I know you're a small time guy and you don't got 6 million subscribers and you can afford to do that, but it makes a personal touch is nice. I mean, you could hire someone for minimum wage and they could do all that nonsense for you. And you could not have to hassle with that. But you do it personally, and at least for now. Hopefully one day you'll be so big you can't even possibly do it and you'll have to hire people. But for now, it's nice that you do that touch, man. And also, I came in tonight on this joint session with no previous questions, no screening. I mean, I could say anything or do anything, you know what I mean? So you're really letting people through here and you're allowing them a chance to talk, and you're just talking to your subscribers one-on-one. And there's not many people out there that do that, man. So props to you for that, because I thought I'd get some questions or like, are you a crazy person? And I would expect that, and that would be reasonable. But you're just letting your subscribers come in and talk to you, even on camera, and say whatever they want. So that's really open of you and nice of you and a way to reach out. And to be honest, listen to all your radio shows and everything else. You do a great job, but it doesn't seem like you're the kind of guy who really wants to be on camera, because there's a million shows where guys are on camera and you're not.
That's
so
true.
I'm assuming you're much more comfortable doing the audio, but yet you're still putting yourself out here and you're talking to your subscribers. So I wanted to give you props for that. And just say thanks for letting me on, and hello. And I hope things are going good for you, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I definitely am a background person, preferably. And the reason the main show is always audio and pretty much always will be is because of the post-production editing. Like, we edit out all the ums and ahs. And if a guest is like struggling, like they're like, oh, I wish I had this quote from my book, I say, hey, find the quote. We'll slice it together. No one will ever know. Because if you hear my show, almost all the guests, if there is that moment, they almost always can recall what they're looking for. It's because I say, hey, just take a second. Let's get it. It makes the show better, you know? And so we couldn't do that stuff with video, because you'd be looking at the faces and it would just be chopping every time that I'd want to make a cut to the audio. So I think the audio is the most important part, and I try to make it as streamlined as possible. And this joint session thing is really just an added feature we threw in because a lot of people felt like there was a lack of straight involvement. I get that. So I think it's a fun thing. It's been really great. It is the Wild West. I am just kind of diving in, but I really haven't gotten trolled at all yet. I don't think. I mean, there's been a couple that I'm like, you might be fucking with me, but you know, all in all, it's been pretty fun. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, well, it's good that you do that. It's got to be fun. I know it's probably different and outside your comfort zone, but that's where life really begins, you know? Is outside the comfort zone. You got to push it a little bit and make yourself do things you don't want to do, and that's how you really experience things. So yeah, it's really good that you're doing that, man. And, you know, you mentioned earlier, I used to watch you on YouTube a long time before I ever subscribed. And you used to mention all the time that you were doing the same thing I was doing. You were trying to look for alternative media and alternative information, and you were seeing a very much lack of quality out there. Good information, but poor presentation, you know, stuff like that. And you decided to put together a quality product that you put out there. And even though everyone else is doing video, you did audio, but you made it good audio. And you, like you said, you cleaned it up, you made it nice. And it's a quality product. And like I said, I've been paying for it for quite a while now. And I'm not a wealthy guy. Luckily I can afford to pay for 2 or 3 subscriptions to this kind of media. And between my wife paying for, Netflix and Hulu and the like, we compromise. And it's nice to find people who I feel like, sure, you want to make a living off this and that's what you do. No problem. I understand that. I'm a capitalist and an entrepreneur myself. But at the same time, you really want to get information out there and just let people talk. And my only criticism would be this guy should be asking them tougher questions and blah, blah, blah. Yes, but that's not what your show's about. Your show's just giving them a forum and letting them talk. And if you were grilling them and giving them shit and asking them really tough questions, you probably wouldn't get all the guests you get.
And they would clam up. And
they wouldn't be open when they came, and they wouldn't feel free to just let it out there. And you're better off just letting them spew it out. And then we can all just judge it for what it is.
Yes, definitely.
And we need forums for that, and we need forums for people who ask them tougher questions too. But you got to have all that, because when you start to grill somebody, first of all, they don't want to come on your show, and then second of all, they don't want to answer your questions when they really get there. They don't want to open up because you're going to try and mock them or do something like that, and no one likes that.
Yeah, we're so on the same page, man. When I feel a lot of times there's some tough questions you got to try to ask, and I always try to use the formula of, hey, compliment, I'm with you on this. I get what you're saying, but I think there's people out there who might wonder why X, Y, or Z, and then I can be like, hey, man, I'm with you, but we got to figure out a way together to answer these kind of questions from, and I think that's the best approach. And also I think a lot of times for these kind of cases that we're trying to make, the truth has to stand up to scrutiny. So we should be able to ask some tough questions like about red light therapy. If we're going to tell people it can cure cancer, then, you better tell me some stories, show me some studies. We have to have something. And
I believe in that 100%. I believe that, great claims require great evidence, whatever the saying is. You can't just go off saying stuff without being checked. But at the same time, you also need to give everyone a voice and let them get their stuff out there. And then we can analyze it from there and really find out what it's about. Yes. One of the problems we have today in our society, especially with politics and stuff, is that no one can really even speak their opinion in a certain group unless it's a certain opinion. If you're a liberal person, you can't go into a conservative group and have an honest debate because they'll just freak out and not want to talk to you. And if you're conservative, even more so nowadays, and you go into a liberal area and you try and have a common sense debate, they're going to freak out and call you all kinds of names and throw you out, So people need a chance to be heard. And sure, they should be debated, and there's no question about that. But today, there's so much conflict and so much negativity that it's nice just to let someone just spew their garbage. And maybe it's great and maybe it's garbage. But I can decide for myself whether it's great or it's garbage. I don't need some pundit asking questions that I may or may not ask, trying to shut this guy down and make him stop telling what he's talking about. Because that's what happens. They use it to shut him down most of the time. And so maybe someone should go on a show like yours and be able to say what they want to. Maybe people can look at that and see what they say, and then people can debate about that and decide whether or not this guy's full of crap or he's telling the truth. Or maybe he's telling the truth here, but he's full of crap over here and he's going too far. Whatever it is, it's intelligent debate, and people don't want to do that. They want to say, crazy person, I'm not going to listen to him anymore. Or they want to say, this person's on my side, and I love that. And things are never really worked that way. Things are complicated, and everything has layers, and it just doesn't work that way.
Right. And we are all just people. Some people have a certain expertise. Like there's guys like Joseph Farrell, where I think he's the best of the best on several things, but I also look at the perspective he comes from, the underlying philosophy that underpins most of his positions, his particular focus areas. Like you got to do that with everybody. Like you should have someone that you like for all these different threads. Like, oh, I'm with this guy on this thing, I'm with this guy on that thing. But there isn't going to be one person who has the best perspective on a multitude of things. It just seems like we don't work that way. We all have biases that creep in to the perspective that we have. That classic saying, when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. These are things we have to work out. The difference between data and interpretation, and just letting people talk, I think, is absolutely the way to go. So I'm glad you appreciate that, man. We're really on the same page. Because there's a lot of hands up, but before I let you, let me ask you like maybe a favorite topic or a favorite guest or a dream guest that you haven't heard, something like that.
Well, no, you've had them all. I mean, Graham Hancock, Joseph Farrell. You've had all the great guests I can imagine on. It's really been good, and my favorite topic is all of them. I don't really get into the paranormal so much. I'm more into the conspiracy theory and the esoteric stuff. Even the alien stuff is good. I like all that stuff. And it's just a good show, man. So keep on keeping on. I don't want to take up too much time, so let everyone else talk.
Thank you, man. John, cheers. I appreciate you being a subscriber, and take care out there.
All right. I hope I inspire more folks to use the camera.
Yes, me as well.
All right. Have a good one, man.
You too.
All right.
Awesome. Sorry, I had to make John I guess he's gone. He did that himself. Good. Some people, if they have a different version of the Zoom software, you've got to make them, they can't be an attendee. They got to be a panelist. And I think that might be a component to why he was able to show his video, but I'm glad that worked out. All right. Let me go back up here to my call for twos and see who else got in there. Clayton, you gave me the 2. Said you were going to bring the heat. Clayton, what's happening?
How's it going, buddy?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm good. How do I get this video going?
Maybe it isn't going to do it because
I was ready for it.
Did it give you an option? Is in the bottom left corner, do you see anything where it says video and audio?
Shoot, no, I'm not getting it. I'm just gonna talk because
sure, no worries.
I appreciate it. I appreciate your time, and really into what you've established for yourself, man. I love it. It's sustainable. It's exactly where and what you want to be. Congrats on your marriage. I think it's about a year ago now, but I was hearing you talk about it in San Diego, and long story short, I want to get your knowledge and interests on DMT because I hear you talking about it with some guests, and a lot of them don't even know what it is. But I'd love to know why you're so interested, and I guess what your experience with it has taught you.
Well, my main interest in entheogens in general is just that I have had a couple of key breakthrough experiences, and so I kind of just put them all in the same basket. They're different flavors of ice cream. They're all going to taste good, though. They're all going to be full of flavor. But with DMT, I've only had one real experience. I had a friend, a trusted friend, synthesize it for me and my now wife, and we smoked it. Yeah, I think we smoked it, and then we laid back and we just took the trip, and we saw, at least I can say I saw the classic geometric shapes, which people say is like the underlying layer of reality, the material realm breaking down. But I didn't completely break through on DMT. You know, with some psychedelics, some particular trips, you might have a tendency to just try to hold on. And it's something that happens to me sometimes, and I can't really fix it or fight it. And so I was having this semi-intense experience, holding on, being like, okay, you're still here. You got this. You got this. Instead of like trying to like lean into it, I was kind of holding on. And then it's like a roller coaster. You're white knuckling it, and then you go over the hump, and you're like, okay, I'm good now. And then as I was after the peak, I was like, oh wait, actually, can we reopen that door? I didn't do what I wanted to do here.
You had that cognitive thought throughout it. You were able to kind of request a direction.
Well, it was just, I would just say ultimately it was an underwhelming experience, and it was maybe because of, it was maybe a mild amount or a mild potency. But I'm interested in DMT in particular because it's produced by the pineal gland, they say. Mm-hmm. And if that's something that's produced by our body, I mean, that's fascinating. Then you can go down the Graham Hancock rabbit hole where he thinks that alien abductions and certain sightings are
attributed to that. Yeah.
release of DMT. I'm not so convinced of that because most people's DMT trips aren't alien abductions.
Right.
So it's not apples to apples. It's not like people say, oh, everything turned to geometric shapes made of love, and then I was on a ship. It's like, no, a fucking creature came in my bedroom and took me onto a ship. So I'm a little iffy on that, but it can definitely facilitate hallucinations, which is a loaded word because I don't mean like things that aren't there. I mean seeing things that are just not in waking consciousness.
I see.
How do you feel about it?
Come again?
How do you feel about it? Do you have experience?
I have probably more than most, but my experience with it is it kind of unleashes a little bit of a mechanized computer program if you're able to acoustically tune to the frequencies that you hear. I know it sounds a little odd, but I had the experience where after over a dozen uses, one night in particular, it I like a toy soldier, my arms and legs straightened with toes pointed up, and then my arms started to swirl, and I visually in my mental space saw two God, what's that repeating like a shell? It's eluding me right now. Come again? Fibonacci. Yes.
Yes.
So that spiral kind of took place, and from there it exploded into a crazy 2016. But perhaps we can speak later on that. I ultimately feel that it's stuck with me even till today, to where occasionally it'll be like this electrical current that kind of surges through my body that gives me this like connected voltage that is really unique, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what it means. I have complete control over it, and part of me thinks I'm crazy, but the other part thinks there's some kind of superhuman ability in the mind. So my question maybe for you in the future is, do you have anyone planned for a discussion on DMT? Do you have anyone? I know, what's it, Rick Doblin? No. Rick Strassman. He did the documentary on Netflix. I know that Joe Rogan. Oh, and by the way, Joe Rogan talks about taking a hit and then taking another hit on top of that hit.
Yes.
All I know is my first hit is all you need. I got this like that. It's some kind of vape genie device. It looked like a Sherlock Holmes thing, but the idea was you put it on this copper flakes, and you never have direct heat from the flame touching it. You heat up a ceramic stone on top of it, and that's how you get an efficient hit. So I've heard, but I don't know how he could be in the mental space to understand how to grab and inhale. So besides that,
I know, because it's an immediate blast off. It's so like within
there's no controlling it.
5 seconds.
Yeah, I know. That's why he's like, and then you take another 10-second hit.
And then you read the morning news, and then you come back.
You grab your bonnet kettlebell, and you do a couple shoulder presses.
Yeah, it is crazy. It is crazy how fast it hits you. I feel like salvia, that was my same experience, is that it was an immediate transportation. With DMT, I was like easing into something with which I still had my conscious mind, and then I kind of like held on to it and didn't embrace it, and then it was over. Whereas with salvia, there was no choice. It was smoked, immediately gone, no recognition I was ever a human being. I'm onto this new thing. It was insane, but it changed my life. I was an atheist that morning, and then I was like,
back. Once you experience it, you kind of question almost all of reality, but you got to get your grounding. It seems like you've got your grounding pretty good.
I'm kind of done with all that stuff, man. I did acid not long ago at a festival, and it was kind of miserable. I was like not in the right setting and all that, and I just thought, maybe I'm getting a little old for this. I don't have the recklessness at 35. I did it 25. And I think part of that mindset is part of the psychedelic exploration.
Well, I mean, there's a lot to process and unpack when you do have these experiences. So it's better to respect them. And I know that when I experienced this it was always this anxious, like, oh God, I really hope nothing bad happens. And you should be a little scared. At least that's how I felt about it. Like, have that respect. But with regards to moving past it all, it's like, it's pretty apparent to me the concept of understanding what it is to be aware or awakened to the deception, the different narratives, the motives, the plot that we kind of see being spun around us by media, or I'm on Twitter more often than I'm on anything else, really. So I get to see weird, like, pushing to the forefront of white supremacy video. And I'm in Florida, and I know it sounds crazy because most people in Florida are crazy, and I hate that we get that rap, but don't worry. Gainesville, Florida, representing the University of Florida.
Yeah.
And to know that, in Orlando, there's apparently a white supremacy march. Kind of hits close to home, but it's like, is that really what happened? That I don't know. So it's hard for me to accept things at face value a lot. I don't know if you experience that now more.
Oh,
than
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for a multitude of reasons, but it really makes me think about ancient cultures and what they were up to, what religious practices looked like before the whole corporate takeover of Roman Catholicism. I mean, it does seem like the whole Catholic Mass, I mean, not to get into a whole crazy religious thing, but it just seems like it's empty versions of the traditions that used to really take people to a spiritual experience. And the whole point was just to make this show of it, this very shallow, we're eating a cracker and drinking wine instead of fucking doing ayahuasca and having a 2-day journey to Sirius. You know,
Yeah.
that's what that used to be about. The chanting, the rhythmic drumming, the entheogens, the architecture. I mean, the architecture, sometimes to me, it looks like the way stuff looks when you're tripping.
Yep.
I mean, it looks like a tie-dye shirt made into a cathedral sometimes, you know, like a mandala in 3D form. Just, I don't know. It's all crazy, but people were so much smarter, I think, and had such a better concept of the life-death system and the structure of reality because of those experiences. Taking them away is absolutely key to control, because once you don't fear death, you're more inclined, not everyone, but some people are more inclined to die for an idea, to die for freedom, to say, well, you know, you can beat me, you can kill me, you can burn me in the street. I'll just, you know, I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of living in a totalitarian society. You know, that's how people rise up. That's how rebellions happen. They have to be fearless. And how do you get that fearlessness is from entheogen use, from knowing there's more to life, afterlife, for breaking the money spell, realizing that's just a game of green paper, all these things that, I mean, the wool's definitely been pulled over our eyes, and it's no surprise to anyone who's done these kind of things why they're illegal.
Yeah, and you had David Icke on just recently, and he was talking about the mind as a receiver, I believe. And yeah, there you go. You've tuned into the frequency. You've kind of I don't know. You've received whatever proper connection to where you're easily you know it's 95.3 or whatever it is, right? That's excellent. With the history, I'm always fascinated at how much we're being pushed certain scenarios during schooling, and how like the textbooks are different every 2 years, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
The fact is, it's very strategic, and that's one, not to get too tinfoil Sam Tripoli on you, but the fact is, like, they've been at this game, whoever they are, let's just say they've been at this game, powers that be, for a long time with a lot of money. So it's like, it seems that things should be a lot worse than they are. At least that's how I look at it. So not to play the whole we're doom and gloom, but you got to imagine we do have we as in the people who want to make the world a better place, have those like angel assassins out there keeping the world in order as best as they can. I don't know how else to make the balance seem fair, because a lot of it seems unbalanced. A lot of it seems like we are in this evil, you know, why are there, human traffickers all around, even in our government potentially? Like, what? Hold on, what? So, with all that being said, it's like, how do we get the ball rolling towards, a better energy freedom? I guess would be the best, because that's what it really comes down to at this point.
I hear you, man, and I've just I don't want to say I've given up on some kind of big, wide rollout, but Occupy, I definitely, I wasn't involved in Occupy. I was actually at a couple of friends. I was like, oh my God, people are actually talking about the 1%. This is really weird. And they're getting in the streets. I never thought I'd see the day.
Yeah, those masks. It was pretty.
That anonymous thing, I don't know about that. Obviously, it was tied in there and there was an inspiration, but I just thought, this is a real shot. And then as soon as they wanted to send cops to shut it down, it was gone in 2 days. And it was like, oh, I get it. We're never going to beat the empire. We're never going to beat the empire. Every win is going to be on an individual basis. And that's kind of the way I feel now, is you just got to break centralization as best we can in every possible way. And then filter down to smaller groups and really try to be more self-sufficient. I mean, that's the only way. And there's always going to be an empire out there. You just hope to be outside of its grasp.
That's exactly what I'd like to actually gauge your interest on. Would you have anybody on that would discuss how to make a small scale permaculture aquaponics system that within 4 months you could be growing your own spinach, tomato? Like, do you have anyone on the books for that? Because that would be really interesting. Like, hey, here are the steps to making yourself at least sustainable.
Well, I'm definitely open to it. I mean, I have a guest list that if I really try to get to everybody on it, I would be done booking shows for the year.
Of course.
But, Peter Allen tried to get into some of that stuff, talking about his mastodon farm and oak savannas and that kind of thing, and sustainable permaculture. The guy to do it is David Holmgren. I think Gordon's had him on. I know Gordon is involved with him a lot, but I'm pretty sure Gordon's also had him on Rune Soup, maybe even twice, if I'm not mistaken. But I have his book, and it is a giant textbook of how to set up just the sickest sustainable system in a small community. And it's really, really good.
Is that something you're moving towards?
Personally,
yeah,
probably not.
No, too much hassle.
Well, it's just that I like San Diego so much, and it's really I can't do it here at all. So maybe there's a time where I think things are bad enough, or maybe we're gonna have kids, or I don't know. I don't get to make all the decisions now that I'm married, and we both have families that are in different places, and there's a lot that goes into deciding how you're going to live and everything. But I sometimes am very jealous of Gordon living in Tasmania on this 5-acre permaculture paradise he's trying to craft. I mean, I think that's really admirable. I also know it's very fucking hard. That's probably another reason why I'm not doing it. It's fucking difficult. It's easier for me just to go to the organic grocery store and feel like I'm halfway there. But I don't know. I also try to not be so fearful of people have been talking about collapse for a long time.
Of course. Yeah. I've heard that too. Buy your gold now. That was in like 2012, 10. And I remember that when I was in college. Keep going.
So, I definitely know what a lot of people don't take their own advice. You know what I mean? We all know what we maybe should do, but I'm not making a lot of moves towards that right now for whatever reason. I also think it's just a huge undertaking, would require so much education on my part. And, the money, it's like, what am I going to do? I could move back to Missouri. I thought about that. I could get acreage in Missouri, but then I live in Missouri. I don't love that idea. There's nothing to do on the weekends. There's mosquitoes out there. The summers are hot enough to kill you. The winters are cold enough to kill you.
Dude, I hear you.
So
again, like I live in a swamp basically.
Yeah, my brother-in-law moved to Florida from here a few years ago, and he has mixed feelings about it.
He's still getting bit by mosquitoes.
Yes. Hey, I also saw I wanted to bring up. I saw your question in the Q&A about bringing back the money bomb. So for people who don't know, before there was Plus, I used to just say, hey, donate to the show, and I'll take this pool of donations, cut it in half. I'll keep half, and I'll donate half to a random listener. Because I just started thinking, you know, $5 does add up. And then like you can just drop a couple $100 on someone. But then as I was doing it and it was growing and I started to give away some large amounts of money. I mean, we were talking 4 figures towards the end there. I started splitting it up and giving it to 2 people because I started to get scared, you know, because
I get in trouble though. You never actually got spoken to, because I heard dozens of episodes and then I did hop back and I was like, money bomb. I'm like, man, this guy he had the right idea. And so, you know, I just figured you got into some trouble and we're like, no, I can't do that anymore.
Well, you know, the classic saying, it's always easier to apologize than to ask for permission. Well, I definitely didn't ask any permission to start, and I just started doing it. And then I did start trying to talk to gaming commissions or gaming lawyers. And everyone I talked to, they were like, okay, so you're taking international donations online for a raffle with no ID, no license, no one signing anything. Kid, you're running an international illegal raffle. This is not good.
If somebody shined a light on you, I get it. Yeah.
And so they were just, it was nothing official, but it was people I asked for advice. They were like, there is no paperwork that you can fill out that will make this okay. There is, you should stop.
Well, very, very honorable. I really dug it. And
thanks.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes to show the kind of guy you are. Your intros alone, I will say, just to give you a little bit of some love here, your intros are always top notch. I can tell you take the time to do it all, and it really disappoints me when some of your guests are like, thanks, Greg. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. No, I'd love to hear them be like, wow, like really enamored with your introductions. It really makes me happy. So if they can start,
it is a little meta thing kind of to see how those are reacted to, because they're
good, man. Every time.
I try to well, first, I mean, the main priority is to get people in the headspace of like, okay, we're getting into it now. And like, also to I try to set the conversation up in front of the guest so that we can maybe start a little further down the road. Like I try to provide a lot of context in those intros to say, this is what they're about. And these are the topics we're going to get into. And then we don't have to tiptoe so much in the beginning because we're already there. We're already at the party.
Yeah. You're caught up. Here's your what is it? Spark Notes. But
yeah, Cliff Notes. I think Spark Notes was a thing too.
You're right. I want to leave with dropping this a little bit. I don't know what to make entirely of movies and TV shows that are out today. They seem to come at just faster and faster and faster. But then it feels like they do drop little breadcrumbs with motives, narratives, ideas of like, this is how it's really working, but it's also Wreck-It Ralph, like some bullshit like that. And I want to share that watching the last episode of Game of Thrones, which you just talked about, and left a lot of people upset. I was generally okay with it until the dragons died. But when Bran the Broken was awarded the kingship, he said, "Why do you think I came all this way? Dude, it's been a while since 2016's connectivity with DMT, which ultimately left me Baker acted. I was hit with this electrical impulse that immediately was like trying to get me to basically dance with it, if you want to leave it at that. And that to me was like, well, what the fuck? So is this show metaphysical? Are there messages in the show that help guide our subconscious? Like, because that's how I view it. I was in control, but at the same time, it was like an RPM of 0 to whatever the red line 7. I don't know. And it was alarming. And I'm thinking of it now. It's kind of getting me a little hyped, but I don't know what to make of it. And I would love to hear people's thoughts and ideas in the comments, but like it was real. And so why did that comment, why do you think I came all this way, little like whatever it was, it happened. And love to get your take on it. And if you want to take other hands after this, I'm good to go.
Sure. Yeah, man. I was really disappointed in the ending, and I thought that phrase was interesting. I mean, he's basically saying, because I can see everything, I just orchestrated this like a puppet master behind the scenes and got to this place. But I did think it was kind of a cop-out ending. It was like, oh, well, we just want to do something that no one would predict, and so we're going to do something that isn't really that great. And to me, with something like that, as dense and as deep as that story is, you are in the last few pages of that story. Just give the people what they want. Just give us a nice, to me, the whole story of Game of Thrones was about characters who are downtrodden, Tyrion, Varys, people who have been abused and mistreated, but are actually good at heart. To me, the story was about those characters usurping the power structure. I mean, even Dany was that in the beginning, but Jon Snow embodies that as well. The bastard, the eunuch, and the midget. I mean, these are the people that I thought I wanted to see as the top of the heap, the top of the new pyramid. I thought, breaking the wheel. That's what they said. And I might have mentioned this on the last joint session, but my hope for the ending, this is my totally original, like what I wanted to happen was I wanted to see if we're going to go and make Dany the Mad Queen, the way she was doing it is like she took Varys out for spreading the secret about Jon, which in the real ending ended up meaning nothing. But anyway, so she was pissed at Tyrion and Varys for spreading the story about Jon. What I thought I would have liked to see her do is say, hey, we're going to line up everybody who told this secret, Jon included, maybe Sansa included. Like, let's really do something bold. And then she Dracarys the whole squad in front of everybody. And the only one who wouldn't burn is Jon because he's a Targaryen. And she would have given the secret away to everyone publicly by trying to quell it just from that action. And then the people would be like, oh my God. And then he'd have the people's support and it'd be too overwhelming and she'd go down. But I wanted that scene. I thought that would have been
it the way they took it. Yeah, that would have been that would have been way better.
Jon should have been the guy at the end. He really just like, give me the simple thing, put Jon there in the end, and I would have been happy. Sansa can be queen in the north. Jon can have the throne. What are you going to do? It's just a show.
What it is.
But I definitely think, just on the deeper point about what you were saying, I think a long time ago, maybe the people who even created television,
right?
They definitely started, they understood attention. They understood the value of having human attention.
The ears and like gather Disney around the radio. Yeah.
Right. I think Disney has been about magic from the goddamn beginning. Like that's their whole brand and mystique is based around magic and shooting stars and a giant castle. And I don't know, it's all in the mix. But now look at what they did. Their spells certainly worked. They own Star Wars. They own Marvel. They own literally everything. It's insane. And from a metaphysical perspective, like the way the universe is structured, I sometimes wonder, did they break it? Because in the natural world, you're not supposed to be able to absorb this much energy. This is too much.
Yeah.
So it is a weird thing. And I do get concerned about it. Like we talked about that on the Egregore show. Like this thought form, I mean, this Disney thing on the astral plane, it's probably kicking everybody's ass. It's like the Brock Lesnar out there. It's like, this thing's too big to be a person. This isn't a thing.
Is it true that Warner von Braun was friends with Walt Disney?
I don't know about that, if they were friendly, but I know they did coordinate because there's definitely scientific things that Disney made cartoons for. Especially that UFO one, if you've ever saw that. There was a weird, almost like a disclosure UFOs 101 that Disney made a cartoon for.
What? No.
As if it was an official thing. It was never released, but now you can watch it on YouTube. There's also that one where Donald Duck wears the Greek olive branches and he starts doing Pythagorean math and teaching hermetics. I don't know if you've seen that either, but
I haven't.
They've used those characters for some esoteric stuff for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. That's fascinating.
Right on.
Question everything. Keep on keeping on, and appreciate the love.
Cheers, man. Take care. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Quality stuff. Clayton Brooks. All right. Wow, this is as fun as always. I'm really just so happy that we got the thing working on YouTube. Again, if anyone on YouTube wants to be a caller, you got to hop over to Zoom and raise your hand. You can find the link in Facebook, Twitter, or thehighersidechats.com. And we're going to go a little bit longer here. This is not going to be as long as some of them have been. Some of them have been well over 2, even 3 hours long. And it's a rough day at the Higher Side House today because I had my first Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class last night, and it absolutely kicked my ass. Like, I'm already a pretty weak person, and everyone in the class is ex-Navy or a cop. And so they were pretty happy to pound on the conspiracy podcast host who looks like fucking I look. It was fun. I'm going to keep trying to do it because difficult things are worth doing, but I'm definitely super, super sore in every sense of the word. And also my wife took a spill on a scooter and also kind of needs some taken care of. And also I have a show tomorrow that's very important. It is with a return guest, Walter Bosley, about his new book, The Esoteric Napoleon. And I don't even know much about the conventional Napoleon, to tell you the truth. Not nearly enough. I did not have enough Napoleon context to fully prepare. Obviously, I am getting fully prepared as I do, but it was like preparing for 2 shows because I needed the mainstream context just to even get to the deeper stuff. But fascinating book. I think most of us have heard that legend about Napoleon going into the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid. It's a didn't he kind of thing. Well, Walter talks about that. He's got a lot of great stuff in this book, but I am interviewing him bright and early tomorrow, and I always want to be as prepared as I can be. So probably another half hour, hour and 40. We'll probably go to 9. No, we'll go to 9. We'll go to 2 hours, but I'm definitely bouncing faster than I did last time when I said I was going to bounce. Ivy, I've seen Ivy's hand up there for quite some time. And she also threw out the 2. So she's got something to say. Ivy, coming in hot. Can you hear me? You are on, Ivy. Don't leave me hanging. Okay, she's got it. I saw you mute and unmute, so I know you're there. I think. I'm confident. Are the stars going to align? I don't know. I don't know, Ivy. All right, we're going to mute you. Got to move on. All right. Ivy, put your hand back up if you want to get in here. Eduardo. We got Eduardo.
Hey.
Hey, what's happening, man?
What's up, man?
Another day.
I thought the video was going to go up.
It's all right. I think it has to do with the categories in which people are in, and I can't figure out how to make attendees panelists unless it prompts me. So it ain't no big deal.
Well, maybe that's better because my internet is not that good. I'm in Buenos Aires right now, and English is my second language, so bear with me.
Ah, right on. Well, you're doing great so far.
Thank you, man. Have you seen that show, Rami? It's
Sorry,
a
which
Hulu
show?
Rami, Ramy.
Rami, no, I haven't.
That show, the guy reminds me so much of you. He sounds just like you, but it's like a Muslim Greg Carlin.
Oh wow! I definitely got to check it out now. I look for my doppelgangers out there, and I've yet to feel super comfortable about. I got some friends. I got a friend, dead ringer for Benedict Cumberbatch, especially in Doctor Strange.
Wow.
But I can't. I just haven't found a doppelganger, for Christ's sake. So I'm excited to take a peek.
Yeah, check it out. I'm not. I don't have that much material as the first girl. She was amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
but something she said remind me of some movies. I'm like a media guy, so I wanted to talk about that.
Sure.
Like what she said about the life she lived when she fell. Remind me of two movies. Jacob's Ladder and Donnie Darko. Like in those movies, something similar happens, but the both guys die and they live another life when they have to resolve everything that they left unsolved in the first life, in their real life. I don't know. In Jacob's Ladder, it's more obvious that happens. Like the guy keeps living his own life, but he's dead. Well, spoiler alert. But I don't know. These are old movies, really old movies.
Yes. Well, Donnie Darko is definitely a trippy one. I sometimes think I should go back and watch it again with the current context I have, because I felt like I kind of got it at the time, but I was still barely into this stuff. It's a pretty deep movie when you get to that last 20 minutes.
Yeah. It's really, you have to see it more than once. I've seen it a lot, and in the end, that's my take on it. I don't know if that's what the author meant, but like Donnie Darko dies, and he lives all this like secondary reality, another reality, and in the end, you see that the plane crash killed him, but all the people who were in the secondary reality remember, and the guy with the rabbit's mask, he touches his face where he was shot in the secondary reality. Like they all remember, but they kind of are not sure what happened. And I don't know what Rain was her name, the first caller.
Yeah, Ran. I think it's maybe a pseudonym, but I think that's what she went by.
Well, it reminded me of those two movies.
For sure, I get that. So, I mean, it's unique to have a caller from your area. What could you tell us that maybe people would be interested to hear about from someone who has our sort of read between the lines perspective on things? What's going on in your area that maybe you think is a little fishy or that people should know about, that maybe is something they don't hear?
Wow. That's everything is fishy down here. It's like Latin America is in a lot of turmoil right now. All the countries. I'm from Venezuela, so and that's like the more extreme case. I had to leave Venezuela because the economical situation is much worse than you can imagine.
Really?
Yeah. Much worse than the news convey. You read those numbers and they don't say much to you, but living it is, I couldn't believe it gotten that bad.
How quick did it happen? Did you see it coming? Was it overnight? The Venezuelan money was the currency was worthless. I mean, that's how it's generally presented, that the currency just became overinflated like almost instantly within a week's time, and it was just valueless.
Well, we were pretty bad before that. Like you couldn't save money. It was it wasn't how do you say it? Like the money evaporated. You started saving money, and then like 2 weeks later, you woke up and your money wasn't worth anything. But it wasn't that bad. Like you could live, you could buy stuff, and then the government started the printing a lot of money really fast, and it got me by surprise. I don't follow the economic news that much, and I was totally surprised, and it was really fast and really scary. Like you started feeling. I had like the same job, and with that job, I used to live by myself and live. I didn't live like a lavish life. I lived like a very modest life, but I could live. And then with the same job, like my salary, I couldn't even buy food for a week. It was really fast, really fast.
Jeez.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's.
So how long ago did you get out?
Like 9 months. I was traveling. Yeah. I was traveling at first, and now I'm trying to stay here in Buenos Aires. I wanted to be a digital nomad. I had a job online, and when I was traveling, I lost that job, and I couldn't find one fast enough, and I had to stop traveling. And I came here because my brother lives here and he could help me. And now I'm trying to get another remote job so I can keep traveling.
Jeez,
but
man.
Yeah, I like my story is like not a bad one, you know. I could even buy a plane ticket. I came by plane. There are some people that are leaving Venezuela by foot, and it's not like 2 or 3 people. It's
whole country.
Yeah, a lot of people leaving by foot, going to Colombia. That's right there, and going to Brazil. Is my story is like a privileged one, but
wow, I mean, to hear you say that is insane, man, because I'm sure most people listening, if I'd say the audience is probably at least here 75% American, and if that's true, I mean, to any American that is, you know, even lower middle, that sounds insane. I mean, it just sounds so stressful. I mean, to have to leave your home country because the economy collapses and it becomes an international example of like crazy depression, and you're in that mix. I mean, Jesus, man. And 9 months ago to have gotten out. I mean, I hear what you're saying, that you are lucky enough to have the resources to be above the cap in which you can actually do something about it. But I mean, even still, the story's insane.
Yeah.
Definitely, you know, send me an email if you want a free Plus membership. I can hook you up with that. If you want me to send you a couple T-shirts, for Christ's sake, I can.
Wow, that's really cool of you.
I don't sell food in the Higher Side store, but maybe I got something useful.
Wow,
Jeez, man,
that's amazing, man. I'm going to write it.
No sweat. It costs nothing to make someone a username and password, but just wild. I mean, I feel like it's crazy.
I've heard like at least like 60% of the shows. I'm a really big fan of the higher side chats, and I try to listen to them a lot. Of course, I only listen to the free hour, but thank you, man. It's a really good show. I love it.
Well, I'll hook you up with the second if you want to hear the full thing, because a lot of times there's a lot of good stuff in there. And, you know, it's no sweat to hook you up. You just got to email me. And if you want to send me an address and your shirt size, I'll send you some shirts. But either way, you know, best of luck.
Thank you, man. I have just one question for you, and then I'll let somebody else talk.
Right.
Have you read The Invisibles, the comic, the comic?
I have read some, and it's been a long time, but I definitely have listened to more Grant Morrison talking about creating the Invisibles. So I'm aware of it, but I haven't really read it as deeply as I've looked at other stuff.
Yeah, I think you should, because I think like you are an invisible. You're part of that group, and you don't know it.
All right, I'll check it out. I got two things to check out. I got to find my doppelganger on Hulu.
Yeah, Rami.
Awesome, man. Well,
yeah.
Best of luck out there. I'm going to try to get to a couple more calls before I call it in.
Thank you for having me.
You got it, man. Best of luck.
Yeah.
Wild. Eduardo. Good dude. Living in crazy times. All right. I don't know what I'm going to get here, but somebody's just been going crazy in the chat here. Realm Renegade. They have been really wanting to get into it here. Let's see. They said they'd like to drop some information about electromagnetism and my great-grandfather's connection to the deciphering of Nikola Tesla's inventions with Admiral Byrd and John Trump. Well, all right. I don't frequent the digital dimension much within this past year due to the heavy censorship I got last year after dropping some deep info in my deleted channel's live stream. All right, we're doing it. We're doing it, Realm Renegade. Bring the heat. Realm.
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me?
I can, man. How are you?
All right, no doubt. I would like to see if I'm able to jump on video. If anybody knows the way to do that on the app. I don't see an option for video. If not, then we'll just go with audio.
You know, I think my screen looks different from everyone else's, but on my screen, it's the bottom left corner. I've got the microphone and the camera.
Okay.
Those might be different.
I see microphone, lower hand, chat, question and answer. So I don't see any option for video. It would have been nice, but it's all good. So what's going on, everybody? What's going on?
Oh, I think I figured it out. I figured it out. So I did find the way to promote to a panelist. And then once you're a panelist, then you're in. So.
All right. Can you see me?
Yes, I can. What's happening?
No doubt. All right. That's great. What's going on, everybody? It's Dorian Dimensions, a.k.a. the Realm Renegade, out here once again in the third dimension, reporting live throughout the digital frequencies. I appreciate you having me on. I was blowing up the chat because, like I said, I do not jump into the digital frequencies too much anymore from the heavy censorship that I was receiving. However, I do love exposing and dropping this type of information. I do a lot of stuff in the third dimension, in the physical, seminars, question and answers, and everything like that. But I wanted to take some time to build with you and drop some information with your fan base as well. So I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
For sure, man, for sure. And I appreciate the energy. You know, I wanted to read that to everybody else so they'd have context. And I'm excited to hear what you got.
No doubt. Well, I can tend to be very long-winded when I drop information, and when I had my live stream, I would do streams for 5, 6, 7 hours at a time. Obviously, I'm not going to take your time or your listeners' time tonight on that, but if you find some of the information that I do speak about resonates with you or your fan base, we could definitely set something up to where we can build another time on your show.
Cool.
Sound good?
Yeah, for sure.
No doubt. Now, somebody, I'm just going to address, somebody said that I look high as fuck. Actually, I'm not high at all. I'm taking a tolerance break. So I'm
I think they're talking about me. Maybe that was about me.
No doubt. All right. Well, I can go many different routes, but I did want
I want to hear what you said about deciphering Nikola Tesla's your great grandfather and his work with Tesla and possibly Admiral Byrd and John Trump.
100%. So I'm gonna drop some information to y'all. Like I said, the information that I do drop tends to get me censored, flagged. And then also when I was dropping this information on other channels and panels, we received heavy digital disruptions, static shutdown. So you know how it goes. But anyway, let me just jump right into it then, because this is kind of right up your alley.
Cool.
My great grandfather was Admiral Charles Kersey. He was actually second chain in command. He then switched to third chain in command with Admiral Prickett, but
Sorry, what was his last name?
Admiral Charles Kersey.
Kersey.
Yep. So this is my Opa. I call him my Opa because that's German for grandfather. Now he served with Admiral Byrd. He went to MIT, also studied under Admiral Byrd and also John Trump. So after Nikola Tesla died, an organization within the CIA had tasked out John Trump to decipher the information that Nikola Tesla had.
Right.
So they needed to have some of the most powerful minds to decipher this information. That did involve John Trump. That involved Admiral Byrd, who was a professor there at MIT as well, and also my great grandfather, which at the time was one of the #1 civil engineers. They needed to have the people to put this stuff together and bring this stuff into fruition. You feel me? Now, I spent a lot of time every Sunday, at my great grandfather's estate, which my great grandfather is deceased now. He passed about 12 years ago. But every Sunday we'd have family dinner. Dinners would be 4, 5, 6 hours long at a big table of, about 30 people. And I would sit right next to him every time, every week, and I would just pick his brain. I'd be 14, 15, 16 years old, picking his brain weekly for hours, because the information that I would be receiving from him and the things that I would talk about with him was obviously contradictory to the information that I was receiving in school. What really got me into diving deep into regards to this information was when I was in 9th grade, and in social studies class, we were tasked to do research in regards to Pearl Harbor, which my great grandfather, my Opa, was the one who had single-handedly manned out the St. Louis during the Pearl Harbor attack. Now, the reason why that went down was because, like I said, he was admiral, but he had information beforehand. Obviously, this was a coup, false flag. Obviously, many died, but they didn't want the whole entire Pacific fleet to be wasted off. So they needed to have a few survivors. You feel me? A few ships out. Right. So I started, diving deep and just receiving that type of information from him, which then continued me wanting to learn more from him. And like I said, that kind of started my road in regards to really looking into a bunch of this type of information. So in regards to that, I do know, and I've heard your show a few times and everything like that, and you just actually came up on my suggested. So I just saw that you were streaming live, and I said, you know what, let me get at this, because you do speak about things that resonate very heavily with me. And I figured that, I'd share some of my energy and also some of the keys that I do have with y'all.
Yes, man. I'm excited for this subject matter. It's some of my favorite stuff. We know about the Trump's uncle connection, and him being the guy who is disseminating or had to decipher Tesla's material. I'm intrigued by the Admiral Byrd stuff. What do you think you could tell us that you maybe know from your personal family's history that someone might not know about this material by just reading about it or listening to a show like mine? What insights do you got that aren't in the books?
Well, I can let you know that obviously with the high caliber and decorations that my great grandfather had, and also how deep connected his father is, and also his wife, which she's passed now as well, which was an arranged marriage of two superpower families. Very, very deep Masonic connections. And when I say Masonic connections, I'm not just talking about Freemasonic connections. I'm talking about orders that go within the Freemasonic orders that are of the esoteric and that are of hidden orders within there. So it's something in subject matter that I've spent literally the majority of my life diving into. Also, walking through and taking oaths in particular organizations as well myself to really find my way. Now, don't get it twisted though, because I don't associate myself with any cult or coven. However, I can let you know through personal experience, and there is reasons why I do get heavily censored, and certain things that I do say that get me shut down in regards to some information that I do drop.
Well, let's drop the thing that you can't say while we still got you. What can't you say?
Hey, listen, I can't just go that strong right off the bat, just like that.
Well, how about Admiral Byrd? Is the Earth hollow? What's the deal?
Okay, so what I can let you know in regards to you asking about the hollow Earth theory, which would be in regards to Admiral Byrd speaking publicly about Agartha, that is a front. You got to remember, Admiral Byrd was also a high-ranking 33rd degree Mason.
Right.
Now, at being a 33rd, there's things that go into being a 33rd, because the 33rd is an honorary degree. This is a degree that you cannot initiate into. You feel me? In order to obtain your 33rd means you have to be able to captivate massive amounts of people, or in the order, you have to be able to have influence on a large amount of the consciousness. So at that level, you're able to have a religion or create a religion. You have enough power to be able to sway consciousness. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And
so I'm saying that there's just a tall tale?
It's something to keep people off of other things that were found.
Was that the Nazi stuff?
It goes deep into that, and that's also reasons why my great grandfather was not able to perform in the Olympics, and I believe it was the 1933 Olympics. And there's heavy numerology involved with all of this as well that does surround my great grandfather and this information also. But he was not allowed. He was a gymnast as well, and actually one of the #1 gymnasts of the United States, was supposed to be in the games, the Olympic Games in Germany, but was not allowed to because of his German descent. That's why I also call him my Opa, because he's of German descent. So the United States did not allow him to compete in the games there in Germany, because obviously Adolf Hitler was there at the games. Now, some of the information that was found, and some of the information that I had would speak to my great grandfather about and pull this information, was the ice cap. So in regards to one speaking about flat Earth cosmology and speaking about a surrounding ice cap, that is something that was found. They did get to the cap, the surrounding ice cap. they did not go into a hollow earth or anything like that, but they did lose. They lost part of their fleet as they went over there.
So you're saying that the Earth is flat?
What I'm saying is, as far as the cosmology goes, it does appear that we are living in a cosmology of being surrounded by an ice cap, and also directly in the middle would be that most magnetic point, which would be considered that's why we are given the stories of the North Pole, or what one would consider the North Pole. You feel me? There's a reason why it's called both, because this is very highly magnetic. The pole goes from the North Pole and Polaris. There is electromagnetism, and it's at the most highest point at that point. So just like if you take two magnets, put one opposite and one positive, and put them together, you see how they repel? You can see the two magnets repel, but you cannot see the electromagnetic energy in between. Our eyes cannot pick up the electromagnetic frequency spectrum that is being moved between there. You feel me? But you can feel a heavy resistance. If you have strong enough magnets, go ahead and try to put your hand in between them. You can't. And as a matter of fact, you have strong enough magnets, it will repel everything away from it. But you cannot see the electromagnet particles in between unless you have specific tools or tools, one being like a ferrocell, or others that are used and observed, say, at CERN in Geneva, and other particle colliders that are all around the world.
Wow. Man, well, I like what you're saying about the North Star and, the North Magnetic Mountain. I think some of the lore around the magnetic mountain at the, quote unquote, North Pole, or I guess the center of the dartboard. I love all that lore. I have an upcoming show with a guy, Christopher McIntosh, who wrote about the North Wind. Beyond the North Wind is his book. It's all about the esoteric traditions of the people of the North and Hyperborea and the legends of the people who came from this mountain in the ice.
Yes. So there's 4 continents that surround what would be considered, like you said, you called it the mountain. Some would say the holy mountain. Some would call it Jacob's ladder. There's all different types of analogies, and it's always thrown in our face as well, obviously being the reason why Paramount Pictures has the mountain with the stars around it, obviously representing the firmament. There's many different things. And remember, the firmament is not no glass dome or a visual thing like that. That's just what's shown to us. It's an electromagnetic barrier that it cannot be breached. You feel me? That's also what is considered the Orion belt, and that is a repelling magnetic force that we're not able to penetrate. You feel me? Now, in regards to that, like I said, there's many different things, but there's 4 continents, or that they would consider that the 4 corners of the earth that would be surrounding the North Pole or the North Pole, and that is directly in the middle. Now, at those points as well, when you get closer to the North Pole or the North Pole, because of the resistance of the electromagnetics, this is what causes one's civilizations to be smaller or shorter. One in particular would be the Pygmies. You feel me? The Pygmy tribe is one of the tribes that is close to what would be considered the North Pole, and they are shorter. Now, there's other tribes as well, ones that look like Asians, and obviously we're told stories of the Great Tatarians, which also, the further out away that you get from there, according to some particular stories, the further out you get and you get past the ice wall, this is where you get taller, what would be giant civilizations.
So you mentioned Tataria. This is something that I've been hearing about lately. It's all wrapped up in this mud flood stuff. I am curious. Tataria, this was an empire in Russia, I believe, that was wiped from the history books.
If you want to look at it this way, the Tatarians were pretty much basically an Asian empire. It was a very large empire that spanned and conquered a lot of land masses as well. But that was just one, and that's just one that is kind of has been surfacing around the past 2 years or so.
Right.
But they're not the only one. Remember, there's many. You've got Asiatics, the pygmies, and then the opposite side of the pygmies, that would be what ones would consider very dark skinned. You can't say African because there's many different countries within Africa and whatnot. But in regards to that the mud flood has to do with the electromagnetic weaponry that was being used as well, which we're also moving back into using that electromagnetic weaponry with the installment of the 5G grid. This was already laid out in the early 1800s and late 1700s from all of the cathedrals and their towers and that cross. Those cathedrals were the power centers of each cities and towns. They were the ones generating the electricity, and they were also the ones using the weaponry, which is using electromagnetic frequencies and beam forming and everything like that. We think that we are very technologically advanced, and we've always been taught that these previous civilizations were so far back in the dark ages, where it's the complete opposite.
I mean, I'm with you there. I definitely think there's a lot more about the ancient past that we don't know, especially when it comes to natural technologies, different ways of astral projection, all kinds of crazy stuff that we just consider either not real or impossible today. So tell us about the John G. Trump stuff. I mean, what did Tesla really have? I mean, there's a lot of rumors and speculation, but you're talking about your great uncle had a connection here. What do you know was in that,
Okay,
in those documents?
I'm sure you've probably heard all of this kind of stuff before, because you're a very intelligent cat. You have very intelligent guests on your show as well. Now, what you're asking in regards to that is something that I've dived deep on, and growing up, as a teenager and in my early 20s as well. Like I said, I've been all over the place in regards to particular organizations and societies that I've been involved with and everything like that. And I could dive deep on those types of subjects at another time, because it does play into gaining more understanding of these types of things that I had received from my great grandfather in regards to information. Yeah. However, I'm sure you've heard this information before, but what they were working on was the militarization of Nikola Tesla's inventions, those being able to direct electromagnetic frequencies, and then also obviously John Trump keeping Nikola Tesla's inventions to the time machine. You feel me?
The time machine, I mean, that's a pretty powerful technology.
Well, that technology exists. That technology is what CERN is.
I mean,
CERN
that's how
the
Baron Trump.
Machine.
That's the Baron Trump thing.
Baron Trump's the looper.
Is he?
He's the looper.
He's the Biff Tannen. He's the inspiration, but he's all. I mean, some people are speculating that Baron is Donald Trump as a kid. Like, is that what you mean by the looper?
No, what I mean by the looper is closing the time. I'm just trying to think of the word now. Like I said, I took a little bit of a tolerance break, so I'm not firing off. And I didn't even really plan to be on this show tonight, to be honest with you. Now, when I say the looper, anytime that time travel is being conducted, and when I say time travel is being conducted, that's when the Large Hadron Collider experiment is being done. Obviously, they're not doing it right now. A few of the magnets are being replaced so that they can now continue with the information that was found. They're going to take it to the next level. But when that is conducted, the quantum computer is able to peer in to what would be considered the future, because it can also alter the past at the same time. It's a quantum computer, so it's working in a different state than what our minds could think, because our minds still think, for the most part, unless we do things to break outside of the paradigm, like you were speaking earlier in regards to DMT, dimethyltryptamine, ayahuasca, certain forms of pranayams that bring in enough electricity to spark your pineal gland, which is your sixth chakra, your anya, to produce the dimethyltryptamine as well, to get you into those altered states of consciousness. These do allow you to get into what would be quantum states. But for the most part, we think linearly like computers do, or even supercomputers. But at CERN uses and can harness enough electricity and energy as they travel subatomic particles through the ring complexes, smash them together, and shoot them around magnetically at what they would consider the speed of light. And at that point, they're able to, once they shoot, literally it's considered a Stargate. They shoot that through what would be considered a Stargate. And at that moment, they're able to receive massive amounts of information that the human mind can't comprehend, but the quantum computer will lay out the most probable scenarios to them. You feel me?
It's deep stuff, man. I'm trying to, stay on this horse for sure. But man, so it's getting close to 9 o'clock. I want to try to get one more call in here.
No doubt.
Drop me something deep, man. Give me one more thing. What's the deepest thing you got? Blow our minds here. We've been getting into this stuff for years on this show.
Let's
you got this personal connection. Knock me out of my chair.
Let's do this. I want to reach out to you. I'll send you an email. Just let me know how I can send you an email or whatever, or how I can.
The highersidechats@gmail.com.
Okay.
The highersidechats@gmail.com.
Sounds good. I'll shoot you an email. Maybe one time we could kind of collab and we can dive deep. So where we have some time and really dive deep on some information. I'll let you know this in regards to my life. My life has been, and I don't mean to say this, I'm not coming from a place of ego or anything. I'm just letting you know. Obviously, you don't know me and your listeners don't know me, but my life has been shaped a particular different way because of this. I have this birthmark in the middle of my forehead. You feel me? Right here.
Pineal.
It's in the shape of a triangle as well.
Oh.
All right. When I was in school, elementary and whatnot, the kids used to call me Dorito because it's like a Dorito chip. Now, this would always bring massive amounts of different people type my way, different type of philosophy, different type of information my way. People, me being even at the age of 8 years old, I can remember vividly a parent coming with an ailing child and wanted their child to lay hands on me because they would thought that their child would receive healing benefits. Obviously, I didn't think that or anything like that, but there's many religions, societies, everything like that base a lot of theology and philosophy based upon placing the mark on the forehead there, signifying the third eye, the anya, the sixth chakra. Is very important because the pineal gland releases the dimethyltryptamine. So I'm going to blow your mind in regards to, because you guys were talking about, and obviously your show is THC, the Higher Side Chats. So when you do smoke weed, THC also does help ignite or the release of just the tiniest fraction of dimethyltryptamine from your pineal gland. So I'm going to drop something real quick in regards to the pineal gland, and then I'll get off so that you can have another caller on, and let's dive deep another time and build. But let me tell you something. Cool. There's many different techniques that we can do out here besides, administering, cannabis, ayahuasca, or other types of synthetic drugs, to be able to access altered states of consciousness and be able to receive massive amounts of downloads by entering the ethereal realm. That's also a realm that Nikola Tesla talked about entering as well. You feel me? Nikola Tesla talked about entering that ethereal realm because he would ask or think intently in regards to the type of information that he wanted to receive. He would go to sleep. When he would dream, he would then take his notebook out, write down what he was receiving, because we receive downloads when we release enough dimethyltryptamine from our pineal gland. Now, what happens is when we sleep, we go through many different stages of REM sleep. REM 1, REM 2, REM 3, 4, up to REM 5. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Because our pineal gland is a photoreceptor nerve. So our pineal gland runs off of our circadian rhythm. That's off of the sun and off of the moon. When the sun appears to be coming closer to you or appears to be rising, depending on what cosmology you believe in, your pineal gland is the gland that is responsible for releasing what?
DMT.
Not just DMT, serotonin. You feel me? As that light is coming towards us, your pineal gland is releasing serotonin. This is the chemical that makes you want to be around, alive, alert, makes you want to be here, present in the third dimension. As the sun leaves you and the moon now appears to be closer or rising, depending on what cosmology you believe in, at that point, your pineal gland shuts off the production of serotonin and releases what?
Melatonin. Yeah.
You feel me? Melatonin. It starts hitting you with waves of melatonin to get you prepared for sleep travel, for travel. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what happens is when you go into sleep, when you hit your REM cycles are higher stages of melatonin being hit through your system. Once you hit REM 5, rapid eye movement, that's what REM is, rapid eye movement. That's when your eyes are fluttering to the top of your head, to the back of your head. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
You want to see if somebody's sleeping. You lift up their eyelid, their eyes are rolling to the back of their head. You're like, okay, they're really sleeping. Well, what happens is at REM 5, this is the point that you're about to wake up. This is within a 100th of a second, right before you wake up, right before your eyes open up. So this is at the point of being startled, at the point of you coming back online, because remember, you're in a hibernation mode. Mm-hmm. At this point, what happens is your body releases epinephrine. A big jolt of epinephrine. That's what jolts you up, because you have a surge of electricity. That surge of electricity hits your pineal gland. At that point, your pineal gland releases dimethyltryptamine. At that point, when you release the dimethyltryptamine, and like I said, this is within 100th of a second. So it doesn't matter if your dream seemed like it was a year long, it seemed like it was 5 seconds, it seemed like it was 10 minutes. This is all happening within a 100th of a second, right before the eyelids open up, that you're experiencing that dream state. Now, if you are seasoned enough or do practices that you're able to be conscious of that state, lucid dream, or even astral project, at that state, you're now able to obtain massive amounts of information, massive amounts of downloads. So if you are seasoned or trained in the arts of, say, pranayama, where you're releasing the dimethyltryptamine in, say, a form of yoga like Ashtanga, when you go into your final pose, which is Shavasana, which is corpse pose. That's the reason why they call it corpse pose, artificial death. You put your body into a state of hibernation. You then do artificial sleep. You release the dimethyltryptamine from your pineal gland, and you have entered the ethereal realm. At that point, like I said, if you're seasoned, you can travel that realm, and you can come back with massive amounts of information. This is something that I do practice daily. And I do teach others how to do it as well. Now, in regards to that, this is where you can consider yourself a time traveler as well, because in the ethereal realm, time does not exist in the way that we see it, because it's a realm that's not physical, and it's also a realm that's not dictated by this false paradigm of time that has been given to us by the builders of this reality, aka builder equals Masons. Feel me? Not just Freemasons, and everybody needs to get out of their mind Freemasonry in regards to other Masonic orders that go way deeper than Freemasonry. So as right now, the information's coming out. We're in the age of awakening. Many people are waking up to the information. A lot of people are stuck on Freemasonry and have no idea about the other cults, covens, and orders that just understand the structure of building oneself from the inside, one's temple, that Masonry teaches you. You feel me?
Yes, man. I definitely think the controllers and the networks and the cabals are much more complicated than people realize, and the names of the real ones running the show probably aren't anywhere in the mainstream.
I've dropped them down before. And let's talk sometime and really build.
Yes.
And I'll drop some more.
All right, man. We'll talk in the future. But hey, you opened up Pandora's box. I do appreciate it. Have a good night.
Definitely. I appreciate you having me
I
on.
like your energy.
I had to make some noise so that you would be able to see me. And like I said, I would definitely love to jump on with you. So I'm going to drop you my email. Let's coordinate something sometime to where we can really build and dive deep, maybe a couple of hours, because there's a lot of information to definitely talk about. One other thing you've talked about, you know, the ritual that went down of the towers being destroyed, Jao King and Boaz being destroyed to raise the third temple. And this is all just a physical representation of what's happening as above, so below. That's something that we got to remember, because there's more going on in other realms other than just the physical realm that particular societies understand how to utilize and are making things manifest. And I would love to talk to you in regards to the manifestation or the bridging of what would be considered the spiritual realm through the digital realm into the physical realm. The old gods are coming back and they're bringing them back.
All right, man. Yes, I love it. You got a YouTube channel? You got to have some. What do you want to tell people?
I've been censored. I got shut down last year, and the frustration just got too heavy because every time I go live, what's that?
You got a website or anything? You got an email? Give the people something.
I have an email if people want to reach out to me. My email is realmrenegade@gmail.com. I do have an Instagram, but literally I haven't been on it in like 8 months because I do believe that there was an attempt on my life where my motorcycle literally cut out and I was ejected from my motorcycle at 60 miles per hour. And there's reason why there has been multiple attempts on my life, and there has been attempts to censor me, especially when I do speak about particular subjects that I didn't dive with you tonight on. I would like to, but when I do talk about those types of things, it does, like you said, open up Pandora's box, and it does raise some flags for particular societies.
Right on, man. Well, hey, I liked tonight for sure. I'm glad we didn't get censored. We got it out, you know, whatever it was. Hopefully we can talk again. I definitely have a long list of guests I want to get on the show, but I mean, this was fun, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Most definitely, brother. I appreciate
Take care, man.
I appreciate everyone who listens to you as well. Everybody's family. Hey, much love to everybody. And one thing, if anybody's thinking, what can we do? All that I can say right now, without diving deep, is vote with your dollars. And when I say vote with your dollars, support the ones that are trying to get information out, and stop supporting the ones that literally want you dead, period.
Yeah, indeed. Cheers to that.
All right.
Couldn't have said it better myself. All right. Peace, man.
Wholeness, most powerful and resonating vibrations. I'm out.
All right. Realm Renegade. Right on. Dude had a lot to say. Got to appreciate that. And I wanted to stop at 9. It's 9:04. There's still a lot of hands up. I feel like I need to decompress after that. Let's see. So maybe we can get to one more. The only hands up now are hands of people who have talked tonight. And there were quite a grip of hands up. I hope maybe some people will put them up there again. Let me look at this Q&A over here. Somebody asked when my birthday is because they want my astrology details. You can't have the keys to the kingdom. You know, I learned that fucking from Gordon. That's powerful information. So you actually should probably try to keep it to yourself a little bit. If you really do think it's useful, and I actually do, then protect it, I guess. Well, late in the game to do so, but maybe I'm going to try now. Are me and the wife going on a vacation this summer? I don't think so. I was very close to going to the Amazon with Gordon to do ayahuasca. I did not go because I had a couple other things going on. It wasn't perfect timing. Not that I couldn't have made it good timing, but I'm like, that's a lot, you know. That's a big trip. I don't know if I I didn't feel mentally prepared. It was a sudden thing. I was like, I don't know, I can't do it. But we are going in September. I believe it's September. We're going to Gordon and Austin Kopic's event in Portland, as above. So if anybody wants to go to that, I'll be there for sure. And I was just trying to give people a minute to get those hands back up. All right, let's do it. We got a classic, Shaman Janeer. I think it's a good way to close it out. Maybe if he's willing, we might even have him on video, but I don't know. It's up to him. But Shamanj, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hey, man. How are you?
Good. Good.
I definitely want to make this kind of short because I do want to get out of here. I got to prepare for Walter Bosley. You know, the Boz is a good guest, and this book, Esoteric Napoleon, is quite deep. A lot of names that are in French and all kinds of things. I really want to make sure I am all set and good to go on it. But I also wanted to get to you. We're making this a staple now, man. We're getting you on a lot of these. But what is on your mind this evening?
Well, I don't have too much. Just to coordinate with that Venezuelan caller a little bit. Did you hear about the embezzlement scandal with Juan Guaido?
I did hear. I saw a few headlines, I believe, on Zero Hedge about a scandal, but I didn't read too deeply into it. No, but tell us.
So from what I'm reading, basically, two of the people involved in his movement were involved in embezzling funds raised in Colombia for humanitarian aid, and then they spent it on hotels, nightclubs, and expensive clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And so that, I mean, that's the basics of it. But like the stories I'm reading, they're talking about he's got this kind of like rebel army in Colombia.
Huh.
And they're all being put up in hotels, and like they're running out of money, and they're being kicked out of the hotels. It's just it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely interesting.
I think one of the stories I read said that there was something. I mean, we already know that U.S. aid was, you know, a front for Elliot Abrams and them to smuggle weapons and things like that into the country. But I think there was some talk about them actually being involved in this a bit somehow. I can't remember the details on that. So.
Well, I mean,
Anyway.
it's you know, add another log to the fire, to the corruption fire. I mean, it's just, to me, par for the course. I mean,
And then there's the
politicians embezzling money. It's what they do.
The thing in the Straits of Hormuz with that oil tanker. Did you hear about that?
Was it an attack on that oil tanker?
Yeah, it was a Japanese oil tanker, and basically what Trump is saying is that that was a mine, and the mine has Iran written all over it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the oil tanker owner says the crew saw something fly and hit the tanker. So I think that's part of the reason why now there's a drone that was attacked, because then there aren't any witnesses, right? So
Yeah. Well, I'm not surprised by that either. Another mainstream story that doesn't fit with what the people on the scene saw.
yeah.
This happens like more often than not. It's crazy. It's like nothing really ever happens. It just seems like, unless it's really directed from the top. Otherwise, generally, people are pretty cool. Planes land where they're supposed to.
Well, but this stuff's being called out. Like, people are noticing this time around. It's so ham-fisted, and it's so blatant and just incompetent that it's going noticed.
It's about time, it's about time. The only thing that's sad to me is that a lot of people think this corruption, or even if we're going to add this false flag into the portfolio of the current president, they think this kind of activity is new. And that kind of always irks me a little bit. I'm like, I'm glad it's recognized, but it's not this guy. It's not, it's not once we get rid of Trump, we're going to be back to normal. Like,
Well, I mean, Obama, did so much. I mean, considering his Nobel Peace Prize.
Right.
I mean, how many people were drone striked under him? It was like thousands.
Yeah. More than a few.
So it's not any party. I mean, even Elizabeth Warren, one of the more progressive candidates this time around, is still pretty much a warmonger.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's way too inner circle for me. I used to be a big Elizabeth Warren fan when she was just a consumer advocate. She was in a few documentaries that I really appreciated about debt, and she would talk about going to these meetings with the credit card companies, and then they would tell her, no, we don't want people to pay their credit cards. And those are the people we send more credit to because we have them on the hook forever rather than someone who just pays it off quickly. And she was, her mind was blown by that. And to me now, it's a pretty simple thing. It's a pretty level one understanding, but that's the context I had for her in the beginning, was a documentary like that. And I was like, oh, she's pretty cool. And then to think she would be a senator, I was like, oh, well, also good. But as that has progressed, I'm like, oh, okay, they've brought you in. You're basically Hillary Clinton 2.0. You've signed off on all the big campaigns. You're not going to make any kind of real change, but you are going to get, kind of like Obama, that surface level conversation. You're going to get points for bold speech and then probably not do anything. So I'm definitely well past that train. But there was a time when I was a fan of hers. And I did want to ask you, man, because I do want to, get out of here before too long. But, we've talked a lot about esoteric sciences, and we've talked about ufology a lot and the principles of how electrogravitics works and this sort of stuff. And yet, I mean, I think we might have even talked about this on the last one, but even in the past 30 days, I'm seeing every major online outlet, from Vanity Fair to Wired to everything, they've all had a few UFO stories. CNN, just before I got on the air, I saw a 4-minute CNN clip. I was like, oh, let me check this out. Maybe it'll give me something to talk about. And here we are. But Congress is getting briefed. There's going to be a presentation to Congress about UFOs. And I know we feel like this is some kind of rollout. Potentially, they're going to say, oh, here's some technology that was developed in certain pockets, and now we have it. And they maybe are going to leave the ETs out of it, or maybe they're going to do what Joseph Farrell thinks, and they're going to do some individualized blue beams shit because they've got everybody's fucking brain on, some central computer, and they're just going to load in archetypes into people's brains. I mean, that was a pretty far out episode. But, and really, book. He wrote the book. That should be the primary source. He wrote a great book. But what are you thinking about this? It clearly seems like a rollout. And you have to be noticing this more and more too, from bigger sources than alternative.
Oh yeah, the BBC, Reuters, New York Times, it's everywhere. I mean, it's not like they say, here are all the alien species that we've encountered, or
no, they're not doing that.
Here's a chart of flying craft that we've encountered, or here's the stuff we've developed. So it's not, obviously not a full disclosure. It's just another drop in the bucket.
But it does seem like there's got to be a purpose behind it.
Oh, obviously, yeah. I mean, but they can't, they can't do it all at once by any means. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely something where there's a lot of people who just deny that UFOs are even a thing, So this basically gets those people to come around to realize, oh, they exist. They are figments of imagination. So that's kind of a base level to start at with building up, a consciousness about this phenomena.
Right. You start low and slow and you build from there.
Yeah. So it's basically the basement in terms
Right.
of, disclosure.
And it's also weird because on one hand, I don't trust these official it's all these, military generals that are now speaking out for the first time. And I was looking for a particular book that I have.
Do this of my own volition, right?
Right. And
blink, blink, blink.
Yeah, and it's like, here's the thing is, as a guy who's booking a show like this, on the one hand, yes, I don't take this at face value, but we have to cover it. We have to get into it. And is it maybe like, it's still probably good for me to interview at least a couple of these guys just to like maybe give them enough space to say something crazy, That's tends to be how I do the show.
I doubt they'd come on here. You're too close. They'd go on something like Alex Jones.
Well, hold on a second.
And he'd growl at them, while kissing their butt.
This is one that I have booked, and it seems like it's one of these in the realm of just like in the realm of the rollout. I mean, the people who are in here quoted as giving it praise are from CNN, and it just seems like this is a pretty official one. But Thomas Terry and Donald Schmidt, are you aware of this book?
No, it looks like UFOs for Dummies, though.
Yeah, well, it looks like it's another one of these. This is all about the secrets at Wright-Patterson, but Thomas Carey is a U.S. Air Force veteran who held a top secret security clearance. He spent the last 23 years investigating UFOs and the Roswell incident. Both these guys are military intelligence.
Yeah,
and now they wrote this book about Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
It's like Legacy of Ashes. This book, The History of the CIA by Tim Weiner. It's all just complete propaganda and BS. I mean,
right.
Basically, it's just like a documentation of some of their failures to basically give away nothing of their successes.
Right. Limited hangout.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but with that, it's the same thing. Like everybody in that book, it's all completely CIA, people talking, and it's like, if it's getting published. But
right. Well, we'll see. It's on the books for me to interview. The thing that was intriguing to me is both these authors together. I was like, okay, two of these guys together, I'll do that, and we'll see. But it might yield some interesting results. I haven't gotten into this book yet, although I was happy with its length. It's got have at least 2 hours worth of content in it.
That's something that always got me about the Disclosure Project too, is just the reliance on military sources of information and
yes, like yes, it's very problematic.
Well, yeah. I mean, if that's your only or your primary source, then there's huge chance for influence. So.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I agree, man. Well, hey, with that,
I'm with you. I'll let you go.
Out here, but they want to say I got this one tomorrow. I like to give people little insight since we're on this kind of closed circle thing. And then after this, you also might be interested. It probably is relevant. It's following a thread we pulled on a long time ago. But this author, she will be Dr. Dana. She will be the first guest that I've booked via Instagram. Has not happened yet, but she saw my interview with Gerald Pollack and she said, hey, I've got a book about optimum hydration and the power that it yields. And Dr. Pollack's material is a part of my book. And I was like, oh, send one to me because I'm obviously into that. And not only is Dr. Pollack in this book, but he also on the very back is one of the people who did the blurbed it, did the endorsement there. So I think that's going to be good because she's more in the realm of how can we utilize this for health, but she's also kind of on our page, I think, in terms of the power of structured water. So should be fun. Cool, man.
It was good to talk to you again.
It was. I always love throwing you in here. I think a lot of people do too, although I know other people have been like, he's in a guest category. This is supposed to be for us and whatever.
Well, I can butt
that line. You blend that line, I think, pretty well. And also sometimes it gets so wild around here. We need something, we need something solid. We need a refuge. You're our refuge, man.
Well, I'm on the boards too, so I'm everywhere.
You are. Right on, man. Well, hey, great way to end it. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for being here. And we'll talk again soon.
Thanks for having me, but I won't try and dominate the discussion by any means.
No. You do blend the line. And some people are going to be frustrated no matter what, because there's, dozens and dozens of hands up, and in 2.5 hours, I talked to 5 people. I mean, it's just the nature of the game. So,
okay.
Always a pleasure. Have a good night, man.
Bye.
Well, I love talking to him. And I just think that it's kind of nice to throw a guest in there at the end or anywhere when we can. And he's been cool enough to show up. I also we've had a couple where we talked to other podcasters that have shown up, and that's been a beautiful thing as well. But as I said, we've gone a little over where I planned to. Got Walter Bosley in the morning. I think it's going to be a good one. The next episode that you will hear is Mark Sloan talking about red light therapy, and spoiler alert, Mark was cool enough in this upcoming interview. I think I'm going to be able to get it up on Friday or Saturday or Sunday or Monday. But when it does go up, he is having a contest, and he's going to give away 5 of his therapeutic red lights that he has done all the research to make them have the right spectrums of light and yield the greatest results that he could find based on the studies that have been done. And he's going to give away 5 lights to 5 lucky listeners. So we can't bring back the money bomb like we talked about earlier, but we can give away some red healing lights. And speaking of lights, I didn't even bring this up 2.5 hours in. I'm starting to bring stuff up now. But because of some of the shows I've done, because of the recent talk with Dr. Rob Brown with Conscious Home Toxic Home, I changed my lights right here to Lumaram Chromolux Full Spectrum Natural Balancing Light. I don't know if these are the best thing on the market, but they are full spectrum, and all the marketing looks like they really care about, your health, which is something that the other companies aren't even trying to do. So I appreciate the tranquil serenity of the evergreens near a pristine lake. I feel like that says it all. I feel better already. But, I'm not necessarily endorsing this particular brand, but I am saying that I tried to make a change to a light that is at least marketed as something that balances full spectrum natural light. And hey, we're here, and I feel better already. So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I'm really happy we got the YouTube thing going. I did literally the same thing I do every time, which is from the Zoom software. You just simply say connect to YouTube. And the past 3-4 joint sessions, it has just not connected. And then it's because I think I was in timeout for all my parody songs. They seem to get flagged as the originals, and I'm sick of fighting the copyright strikes week after week. I'm not going to sit around and do this. I really don't care that much. But it's put us in a timeout. And I think we were in a gap where some of it lapsed, even though they did remove some videos, which I think is even a bigger deal to actually remove videos. But for some reason, they let us connect tonight, and it is a beautiful thing. And I will see you guys. I'm going to recover from getting my ass kicked yesterday and prepare for tomorrow's show and reread some of this book. It's a good night. I appreciate all you guys. Take care out there.